Hello everyone, and welcome back to the homestead. It has been a week of relaxation here. The Homesteaders of New England Fall Gathering was this past Saturday and Sunday. We'll have a recap video coming up on that from Dawn at Little Mountain Life. And I've taken every opportunity I could get to rest and recover from that sore throat, cough that you guys saw me talk about in one of the last videos. You can hear I'm still kind of getting over it. Turned out to be a little bit more serious than I thought it was at first. But as you can hear behind me, the pigs are itching for their food. We're gonna get these morning chores done, and then we're gonna talk a little bit more about something that I certainly wasn't aware of before, and I think all of you out there, if you're looking to get into farming or homesteading, should be aware of as well. We got tired of zucchini, so forgot about the plant for a little bit. See that pile of hay that they're digging around over there? That's part of the reason why I ended up at the doctor's. So we're almost a month on now from that video that I put out where I was moving these round bales, these old moldy round bales, remember that, out into this field. Now I don't remember if I had mentioned it or not, and I had some people asking why I was doing that, so I'll kind of rehash it here really quickly and give you the Reader's Digest version. We moved those old moldy round bales out here into the field so that the pigs could spread them out. So when I come down and lay down pasture seed in this field, that pasture seed is mulched. It has some protection from birds and other animals that want to eat it. It's going to retain a little bit more moisture having that hay over top of it. It's the same reason why if you're trying to seed like a front lawn, you put straw over top. Same idea. We're just using old moldy hay instead of straw. And in that video, there were certain scenes where you could actually see the dust coming off of these bales as I was spreading them out. And point blank, I knew these were moldy and old and rotten. That's why I got them for free. I mean, I didn't have to pay for these bales of hay. These were given to me by another farmer who couldn't feed them to his animals. And one thing I didn't factor was that moldy dust that was coming off of these was extremely harmful. Not slightly harmful, but extremely harmful. And I ended up tentatively diagnosed with a condition that is known as farmer's lung. I feel like a lot of the small farm and homestead community is based on self-sufficiency, self-reliance. As people, our mentality is to be less self-reliant on the world around us and be able to take care of things ourselves.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
And I'm realizing that sometimes that can be a little bit dangerous because we don't necessarily always take the precautions that we should be taking. I'm now reflecting back and realizing that one little trip up to the house to grab a mask before I was doing that could now have mitigated this this that you're seeing a month after. So I'm going to take the camera, we're going to get back up to the garage, and we'll talk a little bit more about farmer's lung, what it is, how you can get it, and how you can not get it, because I'm walking proof right now that this is not fun and I don't like it, and none of you guys should go through this. So let's talk about my situation specifically and what landed me at the doctor's office. First off, what?
I'm gonna mow really fast.
Well, All right, let's talk about my situation real quick and where I'm at. First off, full disclosure, I do not have a formal diagnosis of farmer's lung right now. And the reason why is that the testing for farmer's lung is pretty extensive. You know, one, it looks at your history of exposure, history of farmer's lung, because as we'll mention, this is like a progressive disease. That's where the hypersensitivity part of everything builds in. But it involves CAT scans, it involves blood work, which I did get blood work done. So no formal diagnosis at this point in time of farmer's lung. That said, I have had this before. I worked at a farm growing up in high school, and one year, it was the fall time, we were cleaning out all the old tomato plants. There were moldy tomatoes everywhere. I did, in fact, end up having a fungal infection on my lungs, which progressed to a farmer's lung situation. I was prescribed oral antifungals, oral antibiotics. Not a good time. Having had this before, coupled with a re-exposure out in the field there, that's just kind of how we're going. We're saying I have farmer's lung right now and treating as such. In reality, farmer's lung is a subdiagnosis of a much more general condition called hypersensitivity pneumonitis. You know, hypersensitivity, you're extremely sensitive to an allergen or a stimulus, and pneumonitis, swelling of the lungs, the pneumococcal area. In the case of farmer's lung, that allergen or that stimulus for the hypersensitivity pneumonitis is the spores of a mold called Aspergillus. There's a bunch of different varieties, but Aspergillus is the big one. It's a heat-resistant mold that typically survives the heating up and the composting of wet hay or straw, which typically found in round bales that are baled when they're too wet. And what happens is these spores are tiny. The body inhales these spores. They get deep down into the alveoli of the lungs, which are your little air sacs, where the oxygen exchange is actually taking place. And the body, sensing that there is an antigen in the lungs that it needs to, hey, get out, this is no good. An allergic reaction takes place. Those alveoli swell and breathing becomes difficult. Typical flu-like symptoms ensue. The body basically goes into, hey, we got to get this out of the body. And you find yourself in a situation now where you've got a not fun cough, lung, respiratory thing going on. One of the big things to remember here is that under most circumstances, these mold spores, they don't have toxins, they don't have mycotoxins in them. They would be relatively harmless, and they are harmless to many people. That's why there are people that can go out into a field, do a bunch of work with hay and straw and old vegetables, and come out of it and they're just fine. However, if your body is allergic to these things, as mine apparently is, you build up a sensitivity to it over time. Remember back when I said I had it when I was in high school, what had happened then was my body recognized these mold spores, viewed them as a threat, and it created antibodies to fight these mold spores, to get them out. Now, even though my exposure was relatively low compared to what I've experienced in the past working in fields, my body, sensing these antigens inside my lungs, immediately went into hyperdrive and put me into a condition of what's known as acute farmer's lung. That acute farmer's lung presents in a condition where your body is reactive to the mold spores for a relatively short amount of time. I mean, I guess maybe there's 3 levels. There's acute, subacute, and chronic. You could maybe cross the bridge into subacute, with this being that it's 4 weeks later and I'm still experiencing these symptoms. I am on the mend. I'm getting better, but we're a little bit late in the game here. We're not going to chronic, hopefully. Treatment of farmer's lung looks a lot like any other allergic reaction. You've got over-the-counter antihistamines that you can use, Claritin or Zyrtec or any of those things that you would take for your allergies that you see. I've been taking Zyrtec now for about a week and I feel way better. I've been waking up in the morning with less junk coming up. Sorry if that's too much info for you, but really just that has kind of really helped with this. My doctor listened to my lungs. She said it didn't sound like there was any major congestion going on, that my lungs still sounded clear. So while I was having this reaction, There was no risk of pneumonia or anything like that right now, which is what can progress down the line if this sort of stuff goes unchecked. So what's the point of talking about this? Why am I bringing it up? As I mentioned before, you know, I think as homesteaders and farmers, we try to be a little bit more self-reliant. We look at what's going on in our world and we try to take care of it ourselves. And in a situation like this, what I learned when I just tried to take care of it myself was that I was not getting better. And I ended up in a situation where I, you know, needed to go to the doctor. And it was all because I didn't really think that this was gonna, it's not gonna develop into something big. It's not gonna be crazy. It's just a little cough or whatever. I had a feeling, I knew that it had come from this hay that I was working with, but I didn't go to worst case scenario. I tried to shrug it off and just say, oh, whatever, I'll handle it. You know, we don't always stop to think about the things that we're breathing in. We think we're farming, we're homesteading, we're breathing nice, beautiful, clean air, but cleaning the chicken coop, working with moldy round bales, the powdery mildew that is starting to creep onto my squash plants here at the end of the season. We've been good at staving it off all year. Now it's starting to show up. These are things that can cause respiratory issues that a lot of us just don't think about. So I guess for those situations, I'll be putting the mask back on as much as I hate it. And something for you guys to think about doing too. If you like this video and you want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.